The Travel Transformation Podcast is proud to be partnered with Give the Goodness Global, an amazing global outreach project helping families in need all over Southeast Asia and beyond. Please check them out at Instagram.com/Give the Goodness Global today. And now on to the podcast episode.
Welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast, where we talk all things travel and all things transformation, exploring the life-changing potential of solo travel, intentional travel, and location-independent working. Whether you're an aspiring digital nomad or simply wish to boost your confidence through epic travel experiences, I'm here to motivate and inspire you to go after all your wildest dreams. I'm Jessica Grace Coleman, author, certified travel coach, founder of the Travel Transformation Company, and your host for the Travel Transformation Podcast. Travel changed my life. Now let's change yours. You ready? Let's go. Welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast, the podcast where we talk all things travel and all things transformation. I'm your host, Jessica Grace Coleman, though you can call me Jess, and today's episode is going to be a little different. Usually I do either a solo episode or I have a guest on to interview, but for this episode, the person being interviewed is me. I did this recently where I shared my interview from the Footprints of an Expat podcast, and this time I'm going to share my interview with Sahara Rose De Vore from the Travel Coach Network podcast, which was released earlier this year. For context, I joined the Travel Coach Network in the summer of 2022 after my transformative trip to Spain and France, which you can read all about in my Intentional Travel Transformation book, when I typed Travel Transformation Coach into Google. This term had popped into my head after a week away in Wales with my friends when I had a much needed brain break from work, and you can hear all about this in episode 4 of the Travel Transformation Podcast, which is titled How Unplugging and Getting Back to Nature Can Help You Achieve Your Goals. I immediately signed up to the Travel Coach Network certification program. I got certified as a travel coach, and I'm still a part of the incredible TCN online community. In fact, I've had many travel coaches from the Travel Coach Network on my podcast, and I've even met up with one of them in real life. If you're interested in learning more about the Travel Coach Network, you can head to thetravelcoachnetwork.com, and you can find the Travel Coach Network podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. So, in this interview, I talked to Sahara about where my love for travel came from, how travel can transform us, and how it transformed me over the past year, overcoming my fear of public speaking and using solo travel to boost my confidence, putting yourself out there for your business, intentional travel, and much, much more. Okay then, let's get to my interview.
Welcome back to the Travel Coach Network podcast. It is I, Sahara Rose De Vore, the founder of the Travel Coach Network and the creator and instructor of the Travel Coach Certification Program. Today, I have a lovely guest, a member of the Travel Coach Certification Program and the TCN. We have Jessica Grace Coleman, also known as the Travel Transformation Coach. Jessica is a writer, an intentional travel advocate, host of the Travel Transformation Podcast, and founder of Flip the Script Travel Transformation Services. She's the author of the books Write Your Life, The Ultimate Life Hack for Achieving Your Dreams, and Intentional Travel Transformation, Boost Your Confidence, Conquer Your Fears, and finally become the person you've always wanted to be. Through sharing her experiences as a digital nomad and a solo female traveler, she's here to show people that it's never too late to step outside of your comfort zone and boost your confidence through travel. And that they don't have to do anything as monumental as hiking the Pacific Crest Trail or climbing Mount Everest to achieve transformative results. Jessica completely flipped the script on her life using intentional travel, and now it's her mission to help others do the same through her books, her podcasts, her intentional travel itineraries, and her online travel transformation academy. Jessica, thank you so much for being here on the TCN podcast. I cannot wait to dive into this conversation with you because I know that there are so many other travel coaches and travel business owners out there and travelers who are ready to be inspired by you.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I know that I was a guest on your amazing podcast, and now you get to be a guest on the TCN podcast. And that is where we met. We came into the Travel Coach Network and went through the Travel Coach Certification Program, and we will dive through some of that. But first, tell us about who you are. Tell us about your background, because you have such a unique story. And where did your passion for travel stem from?
Yeah, so my name's Jess. I'm from a very little village in the middle of England called Little Hayward. But at the moment, I am a digital nomad. So I'm basically living nowhere and everywhere all at once. Um, I just got back from South Africa a couple of weeks ago and I'm heading out to Europe next month. So I'm sort of always on the road and working while I'm traveling, which wasn't always the case. I started sort of last year, at the start of last year. Um, in terms of my love for travel, I can definitely pinpoint it. I was 10 years old and I went on an amazing trip with my parents and my brother, like a family holiday to the United States, actually. We did an amazing road trip all around sort of Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, all of those kind of places. And that kind of blew my tiny little mind. Like just the fact that you could jump on a plane, go somewhere, hire a car, and just explore was amazing to me. Before that, we'd gone on family holidays, but to like a caravan park in Cornwall, or we'd hop on a ferry to France or something. Amazing, but like this was a whole other level. And yeah, it just showed me what was out there. It started my lifelong love for like the United States, all your national parks and things like that are so beautiful. And yeah, because of that, I actually ended up going to Colorado for a year abroad at university. I wouldn't have done that I don't think if I'd not been on that trip. And because of going to Colorado for a year, I think that sort of sowed the seed for my love of travel for the rest of my life. Like it's one of the best things you can do to boost your confidence, to meet new people, to get outside your comfort zone, to achieve new things. And yeah, I think it all stemmed from that trip I took when I was 10 years old. So very grateful for my parents for taking me. I know how privileged I am to have done that. So yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned some things in there about how travel was transforming you. Can you give us some examples of what, where did that journey start from you being a traveler and having these experiences to obtaining your own transformations and telling us what that looks like to now becoming the transformation travel coach? What did that journey look like and what were there specific things that inspired this for you?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of people recently during the pandemic, I was not happy, like all the lockdowns and things like that. For about a year before that, I'd had a back injury, which meant I was pretty much housebound on and off. So that was before even the lockdowns happened. I was living on my own, working on my own. It was very lonely. Then the pandemic happened, and not being able to travel made me want to travel more. I'm sure lots of people can identify with that. So to shake things up a bit, I did this self-imposed challenge, Flip the Script on Fear challenge, which I since turned into a course and put on my online academy. And I basically just challenged myself to do one thing for 30 days that either scared me or like that I've been putting off. Because I think we put things off out of fear a lot of the times anyway. It all comes down to fear. So I did that. And as part of that, I did so many different things, but I also gave my notice in on my house. I applied for this co-living in Spain. I did lots of things that I'd been putting off out of fear. And the co-living in Spain is actually where this whole thing started with the transformative travel. I went there for a month, and the company who do it, Sun & Co, they're all about sharing your knowledge, giving skill shares, masterminds, professional events, because they're digital nomads from all over the world, all different backgrounds, all different businesses. So you can learn a lot. So knowing this, I went in with the intention of overcoming my fear of public speaking, which has held me back my entire life, like from school, through uni, through all the jobs I've had, and into my own business, like putting myself out there, doing any kind of public speaking. Coming on a podcast like this is just not something I would have ever even entertained. Like I just didn't have the confidence to do it. So I went in there knowing that this would be the perfect sort of training ground, I guess, for me to try and overcome that fear. So about a couple of days after I got there, I gave a presentation myself on life purpose and legacy, which I'm really passionate about. And I was absolutely terrified, but I did it. And then I spent the entire month sort of throwing myself into all the professional events, all the social events. I also have quite sort of like a mild social anxiety, and I hate being the center of attention, all that kind of thing. So I wanted to try and get over that as well. And for a month I did that. And then at the end of the month, I voluntarily, for some reason, wrote a poem about my time there and all my housemates and read it out on our last night, which again is not something I would have ever even considered doing a month before. He couldn't have paid me enough money to do that kind of thing. And I found that I wasn't terrified and I actually had fun. And that made me think back about the last month and how far I'd come. how much I changed the way I thought about myself and the stories I told myself about things I could and couldn't do, like not being able to do any public speaking. And I thought, if I can do that in a month, what could I achieve in the future? And also, how can I help other people do the same thing? Because I was very unhappy before that, with my life, with where things were going, my business. And this just gave me the confidence to do absolutely everything else. And then, from there, I started writing a book. I joined your network. I did the certification program, started a podcast, did it on my online academy, started doing courses. Literally everything stemmed back from that trip. And now I just want to help other people do the same. And it was literally just going into a trip with a solid intention. And I didn't even have that much of a plan other than to just get as uncomfortable as possible and leave my comfort zone as much as I could. And that was the start of everything, really.
Wow. There's so many parts in what you were just sharing that I know so many people can relate to. So like going back to being in this place where you're just unhappy, I think all of us can relate to it, that at some point, at least in our life, or at least know someone who can feel like that. And especially during that pandemic or as we're coming out of it, that was a really tough time for everyone to some degree. And I know for me that it's not easy talking about things like mental health or not being happy with life or not seeing a bright end of, bright light at the end of the tunnel type of thing. But the thing that's most inspiring about you is that you took charge of this, and you were not the victim to yourself anymore, that you sought out, you recognized you needed a change in your life, and that you put yourself into an uncomfortable environment and situation, knowing that it was going to test you, but believing that it would maybe help you in some way. And I know for me, that all relates to why I started traveling in the first place. And I think I shared this on your podcast. When I started traveling, I was struggling with anxiety and depression. So I've always had an anxiety disorder, but I didn't know travel was going to help me, but I knew I needed to be in a different environment with different obstacles and different challenges, because I wanted to see where life would take me and what did happiness look like to me. So I can see how so many people can relate to your story, especially you talking about, having this fear of public speaking, and not only public speaking, because I know that people are like, well, I'm never going to stand on a stage. They're like, that's never going to be me. But that rolls over into so many things, including business. So for those listening to the podcast who are travel coaches or travel agents or travel business owners or aspiring to be business owners, how do you show up as much as you do as an author, as a podcast host now, as a business owner, on social media, on your website, on podcasts and speaking opportunities? And how can you do all these great things you're doing now for your business when you struggled with that? Because that doesn't mean that it necessarily goes 100% away, but are there any thoughts that you have or tips you can give people around that? Because I know showing up is not easy, and I struggle with that myself too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is tough, but as with anything, the more you do something, the more you get used to it. And like you say, it never really goes away. Like, I was quite nervous coming on this podcast, but consider if I compare that to how I would have felt a year ago, I know I would never have even considered doing it. So it's just doing it as much as you can over time. I think it's knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are as well, and not trying to do too much at once. That you can start with little baby steps. Like my first thing in the villa was giving a presentation to maybe 10 people, and that was terrifying to me, but it wasn't going on a big stage and talking to thousands of people terrifying. So start with little things. If you're scared of going and putting yourself online on social media and stuff, I can totally relate to that. Just start small with like a very small live or something like that. Again, it's just practice, just doing it over and over and over. And one of the reasons I started my podcast, I mean, the main reason was to get my message out there. It's a really great medium, but I know that I am way better with audio than I am with like video or being on a stage. So it's still scary, but it's not too scary and too out of reach that I can, still do it. But also I knew that it would force me outside my comfort zone, and it would get me to practice speaking and that kind of thing on a weekly basis. And like, if I've committed to doing a weekly podcast, then I know I will go through with it. I won't, quit that. So that kind of giving yourself accountability, and accountability in general really helps as well. If you have an accountability buddy that you can team up with, or like with the Travel Coach Network, you have a great community online with the Facebook groups and everything that you can get accountability there. And yeah, just do it. Just do it. Just to sound like like Nike. But just keep doing it, keep showing it up. It is terrifying, I get it, but the more you do it, the less terrifying it becomes, as with anything. And yeah, just do tiny baby steps to start with if you really are like really terrified to do it. But just know that you're not the only one who feels that way as well. We all feel that way about something in our lives, and I think a lot of people have the whole public speaking, putting themselves out there fear as well. So it's not just you. Keep trying, baby steps, and yeah, if you can get something that makes you do it on a weekly basis, then that really helps, because you get over it so much quicker.
Yeah, that's the common thing I do hear among many people who join the Travel Coach Network or the certification program, is they struggle to show up on social media, because social media is, the main vessel these days for growing a business, whether it's on video, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, whether it's TikTok, YouTube. Social media is that vessel of marketing these days. And I know it's not easy, and it's not the only way. Of course, there's podcasts, but that's also showing up. I mean, me, I'm a big believer in media and publicity, but that's still showing up too. Speaking on stages, at events, all of these things are a combination of what helps you get your message out there and grow your business, but it still involves showing up and having visibility. And I understand that's not easy for people. I know for myself, I'm an introverted person. But many people don't know that about me, because my face is everywhere, my name's everywhere when it comes to travel coaching and the Travel Coach Network and my wellness travel coaching, and me showing up to big industry events and standing on a TEDx stage and doing all the things I do. But I always say, like, it's like when we travel. When I was just a backpacker, a solo backpacker traveling, and I would go all over the world for 6 months and by myself and to crazy places and stuff that, it can be scary for a lot of people. And when I come home, every single time I would think or look at pictures and be like, who is that girl? How did she do that? But the moment I get into the mindset of, I'm packing my backpack, I'm booking my ticket, I'm getting to the airport, and I'm sitting waiting for my flight, I go into this new character, because now I have different responsibilities. I have to think differently. I have to think about my production, think about the cultural differences, think about my navigation, problem solving. It's the same thing for business. Even though we're not comfortable doing certain things and we think about it, we're like, how could you ever do that? But in business, there's certain roles that you have to play and hats you have to wear. And the more that you do it, that's why when we talk about travel, if people want to go backpacking solo, we don't recommend like certain destinations. Like, start off a little bit easier, start off with something a little bit more familiar. It's the same thing as showing up, like you're saying, practicing on podcasts. I know when I started on podcasts, it was like a blogging podcast that had nothing to do with travel coaching, travel or anything, but I got to practice more. So I know that that's something that you've seen and experienced as well too. But I want to hear more about your different programs and your academy and your Flip the Script. Tell us about that, because a common question I get is, well, how do I actually make money as a travel coach? And I think you're a prime example, because you come up with so many creative, fun things to grow your business.
Yeah, that is the thing. I have so many ideas. I don't know what to do with them. It's just, it's actually having, getting to, actually using my ideas and things and making money from them. But yeah, so I have my online travel transformation academy, which is basically an online educational portal. And I put everything I come up with, courses, guides, challenges, my books are in there, any kind of content I create around travel and transformation. I put in there. So anyone can sign up to be a member, and you have lifetime access, and any new stuff I come up with will go in there as well. And in the future, I am planning on doing some group coaching sessions in there as well, once I build up my community a bit more. So that's sort of where everything ends up. I also have mini courses that I sell separately if people don't want to do the whole academy thing. I have my books, my podcast, like everything comes under my Flip the Script umbrella, because it's all about flipping the script on your life and writing yourself a new story, which is what I did. Although my brother jokes that I didn't just flip the script on my life, I burnt the script. I just got rid of everything and started over again, which sometimes you need to do. Those are the sort of the main things I offer. But yeah, I always have ideas for courses and challenges and everything. So that's why I started the academy, because I can just bung everything I do in there and people can benefit from it, even if they're already a member. So yeah.
No, I love that.
Do you want to learn all about the 5 travel transformation principles, including how to conquer your fears through travel? Then you need to grab a copy of my Travel Transformation Guide, written by me, Jessica Grace Coleman, as part of my Flip the Script Academy. It's totally free. All I ask for in exchange is your email address so I can keep you updated on all things travel and transformation. Just head to traveltransformationcoach.com/free guide to get your guide today. And now, let's get back to the Travel Transformation Podcast.
We hear terms like transformative travel and intentional travel come up a lot now. What does that mean? What do those words mean for you and your business and your ideal audience and clients?
Yeah, so I mean, like you say, a lot of people are using these terms and a lot of people mean different things with them, and that's fine because it can mean different things to different people. Intentional travel, some people think of that as going to a place and being intentional in the way they interact with the community, with the area, maybe doing charity work, that kind of thing. And that's great. But what I focus on is being going into a trip with a solid intention to transform yourself so you can become the happier, best version of yourself. Because then I believe if you're happier, then you can go on and do great things. You can help people. You can, create new courses or whatever to help people using your experience. So it's all about being intentional. And I start this thing called the Intentional Travel Revolution, which is basically taking a stand against all the things that have held you back in life. Because I got to the point where I was sort of so fed up and sick of public speaking and putting myself out there holding me back. Like if I'd sort of, addressed this maybe 10 or 20 years ago, I don't even know where I'd be now, because, it just held me back from everything, from going after jobs, from going after promotions, from giving presentations that I wanted to give, for speaking up about, a certain issue. It would stop me from doing everything. So it's about taking a stand against things you're finally sick of, like ruining your life or controlling your life, and taking back that control and going out there, getting outside your comfort zone so you can achieve incredible things you would never think possible. We know, people in the travel industry know how transformative travel can be. We know intentional travel, what that can do for you. But a lot of people don't know. They might go on one trip a year or every few years just to relax or go to a resort or something. And that's great too. Sometimes, you need that break, but they're not aware of how they can actually use travel as a tool, not just to transform in general, but to boost their confidence and to overcome specific fears and limiting beliefs. And, I think travel, especially solo travel, which I do a lot of, it can't help but, boost your confidence generally. But you can get so much more out of it if you have a specific intention going into this. And I don't think many people really think of that when they think of travel. They just think of going on a holiday or, going to relax somewhere on a beach. And yeah, so I want to get the message out there that you can do that, and you can do it at any time of your life as well. It's not just for, gap year students or people in their 20s. You can do it whenever, and you can completely change your life if you put the work in and, go in with a solid intention.
Yeah, absolutely. An editor for a big travel publication emailed me the other day doing an article on travel coaching. And one of the questions that they asked me was, how do we define travel coaching in the Travel Coach Network? And a part of that I said is exactly that, helping people set intentions for those trips. I've always been a big believer, and this is why one of the reasons I became a wellness travel coach and I started the Travel Coach Network was because we as travelers, we understand how, as avid travelers, how powerful travel can be on whether it's our well-being, whether that's mental, emotional, spiritual, physical well-being, on our relationships, on our personal growth and personal development. We understand these, but for the average person who doesn't get to travel as often, or they are work in the corporate world, or they're busy moms, or whatever it might be, or they just didn't have the opportunity or the confidence to be able to go on a solo trip, but it's always been something in the back of their head, that it going to places like an all-inclusive resort or going to these kind of more sheltered experiences, which there's nothing wrong with those, like you said, I like those from time to time again too. There's times that I don't want to think about anything. I just want to do work, be like at the pool, whatnot. But we understand that, and I think this is common within everyone in the Travel Coach Network, is that travel really has the power to transform you. But travel coaching is about helping people set those intentions, because we need to be mindful of what are we actually looking to get out of this experience, no matter how long the trip is going to be or where you're going to go, even if it's for a work trip. That if we are intentional about how we spend our time, and whether it's we engage with the people in the community there, or we are, knowing that our emotional wellness bucket needs to be filled more, and that maybe there's something we need to do that can fill that. Or maybe it's, that mental health aspect of, I need to be on my own for a little bit. I've had so much going on in my crazy life and my family and my partner or whatever it might be, my work. I need just to sit at the beach or go for a walk in with some lush greenery somewhere. There's really those powers of blue and green spaces that studies talk a lot about. So there's a lot of missed opportunities that can happen when we travel if we don't set intentions of what we are looking to feel after we come from this trip, or how we want to feel during this trip, or no matter the degree of why they're traveling or who they're traveling with. And I think that is like the foundation of intentional travel. And like you said, using travel as that tool to really shake up your life and get what you're looking for, you're yearning for out of life. And that's a prime example of what you've done there too. When it comes to coaching, can you answer what has adding coaching to your services done? Because you've talked about creating itineraries for people and helping them with the planning phase and, writing your book. But I'm sure there's people in our audience who are like, yeah, but what about the coaching aspect? Like, why is that important? Can you talk about that a bit more and maybe give some examples of questions you ask or what coaching looks like with you and your clients?
Yeah, sure. So, I do lots of things. I do books, podcasts, courses, like I say, and they're all great, but you can, read as many books as you want, take as many courses, listen to as many podcasts, but you don't have that bespoke personal aspect to it. So you can take in all the information, but you don't have someone encouraging you to actually do anything with that information. So I think that is the main thing for me when I think of coaching. I think of having someone to look at my sort of personal story and help me with my own personal issues. But more than that, it's the accountability. Like I said before, having accountability is a huge thing. Having skin in the game, like if you've paid for coaching and you've got that skin in the game, you're more likely to do something with the information, like when you pay attention, that kind of thing. So if you have someone encouraging you, you have the accountability, you've got some skin in the game, you're more likely to actually go on that trip or book that flight or do the first step, rather than if you're just, reading a book or passively listening to a podcast. So I think that is a huge, huge part of it. I think it's just, I haven't been doing one-on-one coaching, which is something I took from your course, actually, because I was putting off the idea of coaching for so long because I didn't want to do one-on-one coaching, because I also run an editing business. That's what I've been doing full time since 2014. And that is sort of time for money work. It's not very scalable. It's not passive at all. And I didn't want to get stuck in another business model where I couldn't scale it and I couldn't make any passive income. So I was really resisting the idea of doing any kind of coaching certification for so long. But in the course, you say that, there are so many other ways that you can incorporate coaching into your services. Like with my academy, I'm going to be doing group coaching in there, so you can coach to many. And, there's all kinds of different ways of doing it. So I think some people are also put off by one-on-one coaching as well on the other side, like that it feels, I don't know, too scary, or, you feel like you're going to a therapist or something. And, therapy is great, but some people are scared of that whole notion. And talking to people, telling them your fears, that's a huge thing. So I think it can really help to maybe start with something like a group coaching program. And then if you want to do more in-depth work, then you could go on to one-on-one and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think there's nothing like it in terms of having someone just guide you through the process and, tell you exactly what you need to do, help you out, and give you accountability.
Yeah, coaching doesn't, I want to break that stigma. And that's something I hear so much is like, well, how do I get one-on-one clients? I'm like, I always ask, is that what you want to do? I know for me, that's never what I wanted to do. That's not what I do as a wellness travel coach. So it doesn't mean that has to be the only way. If you believe in coaching or travel coaching and you want to coach people, you don't have to do one-on-one. You're a great example of there's coaching in your books. There's coaching in your courses and your resources. Digital products are a great way of coaching. Your podcast is a great way of coaching. Giving people the right tools and mindset and tasks to be able to, you ask them the right questions, you give them tasks to do, whether it's journaling, that makes it pull from within. The whole foundation of coaching is to be able to have people have self-awareness of where a certain feeling or desire is stemming from, and therefore what needs to happen in order to reach a certain goal. And you can do that in a wide range of things. So if you can learn the foundation of travel coaching, you can implement that into so many different areas. And I've seen a big influx of travel agents and travel advisors coming into the Travel Coach Network, especially during the pandemic and as we come out of it, because you can combine travel coaching with how you help people plan and book trips. And it's really just that personal, deeper level of understanding people and having them understand their own desires and their own needs, their own limiting beliefs around travel, so that they can really have that, hopefully that feeling, that transformation, that outcome, the result that they are looking for. While they're that feeling of why are they scrolling on Instagram and desiring trips, or why are they searching Google flights in the first place, right? There's a reason for that. And if we don't pull that out, we're never going to really have that outcome or feeling that we are looking to obtain in the long run. I know for me, when I was still in college, or you like to say uni, sounds way better than saying when I was in uni still, and I was working in the restaurant industry in Chicago, and it was a very high paced, fast paced, like high energy environment, which someone with me an anxiety disorder, I hustled my butt and made great money, but it can take a toll on you mentally. And that's what was leading, also a big contributor to leading into my depression. But I had a goal in mind to work and save money for travel. But I know in those moments at work, I would find myself in the corner with a list. And this is before I traveled to anywhere yet, with a list of all the destinations that I wanted to go to. And it was my escape in a moment of having anxiety and unhappiness. And so for me, I wanted to figure out why was it this travel, and why was it these destinations I was looking for, and how can I make the most out of actually going there? So travel just really can transform you in so many different ways, and giving so many great examples here, Jessica, on different ways to have revenue streams and to overcome your fears and everything as well. Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet today that you love to share with the audience?
I just want to talk about people talk about having a why behind your business and having something bigger than you to, help you get up in the morning and get to work and stuff like that. And I was thinking about this, and then I saw this guy on Instagram who has his own sort of global outreach project. I said project then, like I was an American. You're rubbing off on me. And yeah, he's from America, and he basically goes around Thailand and Cambodia, Southeast Asia, helping families, donating money and food and toys and stuff like that. And I thought it was so great that I decided to partner with him. So he's called Give the Goodness Global. You can find him on Instagram at Give the Goodness Global, and 10% of all my sales from my intentional travel transformation book go to him. And I've just decided as well that I'm going to give 5% of all my online courses, digital services, anything basically that I sell on my website, to that cause as well. So please go and check them out. They're amazing. Give the Goodness Global. I also have a charity page on my website which has more information on him. But yeah, I would highly recommend finding something like that you can really put behind your business and make it more of a purpose-driven business, but also a personal reason to want to make more sales and reach more people and have more people listen to your story and things, because it will not only change their lives, but it will also change lives of the people this guy is helping in Southeast Asia as well. So if you could incorporate that into your business, it's a win-win-win for absolutely everyone. So yeah, I would highly recommend doing something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. As we wrap it up here, is there a fun fact about yourself that doesn't have to be travel or business related? I know you shared so much about yourself already, but is there anything that is a fun fact that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, so I've mentioned that I'm a writer with my nonfiction books, but I also write fiction. I write young adult paranormal mystery novels. Sadly, I haven't done it for a few years because of all the traveling and all the business and stuff, but that's also why I want to get to a point in my business where I'm making passive income so I can go back to it, because I really enjoy it. And I've based a lot of the locations in the place on locations in my home village and my hometown, loosely based, but yeah. So yeah, I write all kinds of books, and I've self-published 11 books so far on Amazon. So that's my passion, my writing. Yeah.
That's amazing. I've published a book on Amazon years ago, and that's not an easy task. I mean, the writing part is the fun, easy part, but the publishing, the self-publishing, and getting it all set up. So 11 books, that's absolutely incredible. Jessica, where can everyone learn more about what you're doing and find and follow you?
Yep. So you can go to my website, which is traveltransformationcoach.com. I'm on Instagram at Travel Transformation Coach. I'm on TikTok, which is a recent addition, at Travel Transformation. And also you can listen to my podcast, the Travel Transformation Podcast, every week, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Wonderful. We are going to include all of those links into the show notes. But Jessica, thank you so much for being with us today. We absolutely love having you in the Travel Coach Network and being a graduate of the Travel Coach Certification Program. We are absolutely in love with what you're doing and your mission. So thanks again for being with us.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, be sure to follow us on Instagram at the Travel Coach Network. Learn more about us at thetravelcoachnetwork.com. Come give us a hello. We look forward to having you in our Facebook TCN Global Community. The link for that, as well as your free beginner's guide to travel coaching, are in the show notes, along with all of Jessica's links too. And if you know anyone who may be interested in becoming a certified travel coach or learn about travel coaching in general, please be sure to send them our way to our podcast. We truly appreciate it. And until next time, my fellow wanderers, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Travel Transformation Podcast with me, Jessica Grace Coleman. If you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could please subscribe, rate and review, and spread the word, because it's my mission to help as many people as possible to flip the script on their lives and transform through travel. And remember, life is short, so let's make sure it's nothing short of amazing. Until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.